The Super Nintendo. This 16-bit console is one of the iconic classics of the 90s, featuring games such as Super Mario World, R-Type, Final Fight, and Street Fighter. Recently, we've acquired a lot of aftermarket peripherals for the Super Nintendo and Nintendo systems, and had a thought, was there a way to integrate these to play Game Boy games on the Super Nintendo? Without the use of the Super Game Boy cartridge, of course. We were lucky enough to have a region-free version of the Super Nintendo console on hand. So this would make adapting Game Boy games to play on the console a lot more easier. Years ago, we were lucky enough to get our hands on an EverDrive N8 flash cartridge and knew tower stacking with multiple cartridges was the only way to implement our idea. As the EverDrive N8 flash cartridge comes in pure PCB format, the only option was to use a housing from an old game. The top rear of the cartridge housing has to be trimmed to allow room for the SD card to fit. Then it's just a matter of securing the PCB and screwing the cartridge back together. To ensure that the NES flash cartridge worked, we had to marry it up with a RetroPort adapter that allows NES games to be played on the Super Nintendo. Although these cartridges are not the best with refresh rates, we know they still work. As our tower was using multiple variants of Famicom and NES parts, we had to use an adapter. We were able to source this adapter off eBay for a few dollars. And as our console was region-free, the adapter between Famicom and NES wouldn't affect functionality. To complement the tower, a few months ago, we sourced this mini LCD monitor off AliExpress. Being a Famicom variant for the top loader, the adapter we sourced was the perfect fit for this build. The kit came with a remote control and an external audio cable. Finally, the only way to adapt the NES EverDrive N8 flash cartridge to the Famicom FC LCD panel was with the use of another adapter, which converted 60 pins back to 72 pins. Now with the tower almost complete, the last part of the build was sourcing some type of Game Boy ROM that would function with the Super Nintendo and NES flash cartridge simultaneously. Enjoying this video? Now's the perfect time to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. With approximately 12 games that were engineered for both the NES and Game Boy systems, the choice wouldn't be easy. However, we decided on one of our favourites, Street Fighter. This game was produced for the original Game Boy console, however, it's been reverse ported for the NES. As you can see, the game retains its original hex colour palette and still retains its iconic gameplay. To mix it up a little, we decided to choose some third-party created games. And in this instance, we decided to trial Pokemon Silver and Pokemon Blue. And to our surprise, these bootlegs were nothing like the originals. Oddly enough, they were created as side-scrolling games, which was very disappointing. And yes, we could have chose the Pokemon Yellow Chinese remake. however decided to stay clear. So with a mismatch of adapters and consoles, it is capable of playing some type of Game Boy game through a Super Nintendo without the use of a Super Game Boy cartridge. The only benefit we can see to doing this is that it's amusing and it is a region-free option. And do we recommend you go out and purchase these adapters and try giving it a go yourself? Probably not.